And the Buffalo Bills went ahead and fired Sean McDermott on Monday. I believe it was Monday. What a move. The guy was hold on, I'm pulling up his stats real quick. I believe it was he wa Sean McDermott was 98-50 as a head coach. They had made the playoffs 8 years in a row or 7 years in a row. I mean, I don't know the Buffalo Bills head coach history, but he had to be up there. Like he had won a lot of games. He was 8-8 in the playoffs, but inevitably they, you know, were the team that was always right there and could never get over the hump. It seems to me personally, my opinion is in college, like when Georgia did this with Mark Richt, like there's, a standard, or like when Penn State's going with James Franklin. I think it makes a little bit more sense in those types of ways than it does in the NFL. Like in the NFL, like getting to the AFC championship all the time, like that's a hard thing to do, you know? And I'm not sure if them changing coaches is going to automatically get Josh Allen in the Bills to the Super Bowl. Like, you have to look at all these situations they've been in the playoffs. Like, they lost their last game because Josh Allen let's go, Jake, back. They lost their last game because Josh Allen turned the ball over, like, 4 times. They lost, multiple playoff games because the kicker misses a kick. They miss the other ones because they can't get a 4th and 1. Like, I'm not a big fan of this move to fire Sean McDermott. I get what they're thinking in their head, and they're seeing the Steelers do it. They're seeing the Ravens do it. You've gotta pony up and get it, but it's like, who is out there that's just, gonna be better than
After everybody's been
50?
hired.
Yeah, it's
Exactly.
like,
Yeah.
I don't know, but what do you guys think about the firing?
Well, first off, just glad to be able to see myself. That was a very frustrating last 10 minutes of my life. The little green button, like the thing saying it's recording, wasn't even coming on. It was very frustrating, but I'm glad that got resolved. I agree, and I find most people will agree with this, that I feel like the Buffalo Bills ownership is taking for granted how good this team has been for the last,
Mhm.
7 years. I mean, they've been in the hunt, they've been winning divisions. They've been going to the AFC Championship game. They've been going to the playoffs every single season. Basically since they got Josh Allen, they've been going to the playoffs. It makes no sense. I think Caleb, both of y'all bring up a good point. This late in the hiring cycle, the big names have basically already gotten jobs. If they could have gotten Stefanski or Harbaugh or somebody, then like sure, like maybe. But I still like Sean McDermott is way down the list of problems they have in Buffalo. And it gets interesting because today there was a lot of stuff coming out that Sean McDermott actually met with ownership and the general manager before the season started and broke down what is missing from this team, why this team can't win the Super Bowl. And apparently ownership did not like that. And then I don't know if y'all saw this, but for some reason, Keon Coleman got thrown
Yeah.
completely under the bus today, like bad by the owner, like basically saying, like, yeah, me and the GM, neither one of us wanted Keon Coleman. That was a Sean McDermott call, and he's the reason why we drafted him. Why they're even doing that is bonkers in the first
Mhm.
place, and he's still under contract. He's still under contract. He's in his
Yeah.
second season. You got a rookie second-year wide receiver who has 2 years of 500 yards. Is that groundbreaking? No, but it's not like this dude's like not seeing the field or whatnot. This roster, this team has a lot of issues, and Josh Allen's been able to play Superman for the last few years to be able to even get them in the possibility to contend.
Mm.
And I think it's just they're this the pot is calling the kettle black right now, and it's just stupid in my opinion. And I feel like Josh Allen has to be upset with this. There's no way he's just like cool with this. Obviously, I mean, Keon Coleman has to be pissed. I mean,
Yeah.
how could he not be? Just to like, what did I do? What did
Yeah.
I do to get on this? Y'all drafted me. Like,
Mhm.
why am I getting thrown on the bus for this? But yeah, just a very messy situation.
Definitely unfortunate too. You go back and look at the Buffalo Bills, and I was actually talking about with somebody at work today. You didn't think about the Buffalo Bills when we were talking about the division when New England was in the midst of their run. It was the Jets. And maybe the Dolphins have a year with Fitzpatrick, but like Buffalo was never even a thought. And I went back and was like, I wonder why that was. And the best record they had in the 10 years prior to Sean McDermott was 9-7 with Doug Marrone in 2014.
Mhm.
So that thing has been built by Sean McDermott. In fact, if you guys didn't know, Brandon Beane got hired basically by Sean McDermott. He was already the head coach, and then Beane got hired to be the GM, and now GM gets promoted, gets a pay raise in the process of firing the coach who built this whole thing. And it would be different if you were firing a guy that's been there for a long time if he had lost the locker room. That was not the case whatsoever. Those guys love Sean McDermott. I imagine you're going to see a lot of disgruntled players coming out of that building, maybe over the next year or so, and talk about it. I mean, because this is like traumatic, man. I mean, think about it. Josh Allen's known nothing else, Sean McDermott. Okay, so now they got a little bit of a mismanagement issue because the ownership felt some type of way, and everybody could get out of their own way with the ego. And so you can the coach that's won more games with your franchise than probably anybody else since the Fall Four in Buffalo in the 80s, where they won or lost four straight Super Bowls. So I just don't understand the impatience. It's not a fan base thing. I don't think it's a player thing. I think it's simply ownership having a riff with somebody and thinking that they can, I mean, because their pants are pretty expensive, they can make that decision. And funny enough, seeing on Twitter today, a lot of Buffalo Sabres fans were talking because apparently he's the owner. Terry Pegula is the owner of the Buffalo Sabres too. And he kind of did a similar thing a couple years ago after he took ownership where he made the GM the president and got rid of the head coach and just kind of like, well, you just handle it. Yeah, I trust you. You got it. So, definitely an odd situation. I feel like as a Patriots fan, this is great for me because Sean McDermott, you can say whatever you want to, has been a force. I mean, he lost his first AFC division in like 7 years this season, and it came down to like the last game or two. Like it wasn't, he was getting boat raced or anything. And also too, everybody wants to talk about Josh Allen and the offensive struggles. Guess what side of the ball Sean McDermott cuts his teeth on? Defense. He's not even in Josh Allen's ear, man. That's just like a head coach managing personalities on the offensive side of the ball. You got Joe Brady. Now you're sitting there thinking, okay, well, who are they going to hire? Are they going to hire Brian Dable or Joe Brady? Those are the only two names that make any kind of sense for me.
Yeah. But like the Brian Dable thing is like, yeah, obviously it makes sense. He has a relationship with Josh Allen. He's already been in Buffalo. But like, is that an improvement?
Yeah, I mean, for
It's
real.
hard,
I
it's
mean,
hard to imagine that it is.
I know.
It's weird for a team to make a decision that after they've made so much money to be like, well, we think we want something different. Like this isn't Belichick, where Belichick went 4-13 and like 6-10 his last 2 years, and you're like, okay, well, this 25-year run is up. This is like a guy in year 8 or 9. I understand that there's people out there, and I've seen this stat all over the place, that coaches after their like 6th year being with a team, there's only been like 2 coaches win their first Super Bowl with that same team. So I don't think Josh Allen is going to prevent you from getting there. I don't think McDermott was going to prevent you from getting there. In fact, I think as an NFL coach, if you play well enough to get to the point of brink of Super Bowl champ or brink of the Super Bowl berth every year, you're probably a pretty damn good coach. It's unfortunate they didn't ever get over the hump. And again, we talked about it last week. I thought a lot of controversy surrounded their runs year over year over year, and then not being able to do it. But I think McDermott's got some legitimate gripes to have. I think this is the worst team the Buffalo Bills have fielded in the last 7 years. Just considering the receiver room. I mean, name
100%.
a guy other than Keon.
Yeah, and I think to go back to like the Ravens, right? They fizzled out, like to what you were saying, like with the Belichick thing, it fizzled out. Like the Ravens, they fizzled out this year. They didn't make the playoffs, right? Things went so wrong. The Steelers, yes, they've had the winning seasons, everything, but
they also didn't fire their coach.
Huh?
They didn't fire their coach. He decided to walk out the building on his own.
That's true. That's true. And so those things are like fizzling out. And so this one didn't seem like, yes, you didn't make the Super Bowl again, but I think just going back to the Bills before this guy were absolutely awful. You can go back to like when they I think there's that clip from when they made the playoffs for the first time, and they're all sitting there in the locker room, like going nuts. And that was the first time they had made the playoffs in years. And for them to just kind of rip that away from everybody, like hopefully they got it all figured out. And these owners, I mean, that's what now, was that 11, the 11th head coach change that we've had in the NFL?
It's the most in a long time. Once you especially factored in like kind of oh my gosh, really? And then you get the Harbaugh and Tomlins, like those are the guys that never left. But yeah, it's a big number.